Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the first woman to serve in the United States Senate from Wyoming, it really is a privilege for me to talk about a real pioneer woman from the state of Wyoming who then finished her life in Maryland and is buried in Baltimore. Wyoming was the first state to continuously grant women's right to vote. In fact, it was the first government in the world to continuously grant women the right to vote. This happened fully 50 years before the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And Louisa Swain was the pioneering woman who cast the first legal vote in a general election under Wyoming law. That happened on September 6, 1870. So I can't think of a better name for a federal building in the first state to recognize this right and enshrine full suffrage for women into law. Many women played an essential role in the journey towards suffrage, but Louisa Swain's simple act of voting, though quiet, was the shot heard round the world, and she deserves, I believe, this recognition for a federal building to be named after her in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I want to thank both Senators Cardin and Van Hollen for joining me in this legislation. After Mrs. Swain left Wyoming, she made her home in Maryland. As I mentioned, she is buried in Baltimore, where you can visit her grave. I know that both Senator Cardin and Senator Van Hollen are proud of their home state's part in the story of women's suffrage. And being from Wyoming, I can't even describe how proud I am of our role. So it's a privilege to sponsor the legislation with Senator Van Hollen and Senator Cardin. I appreciate both of you for this, and thank you for joining me today in this effort. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Senator. I want to turn now to Senator Cardin.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And let me thank my colleague for Wyoming for advancing this bill. Through the story of Louisa Swain, the state of Wyoming and the state of Maryland share an important piece of the history of women's right to vote. We celebrate Louisa Swain as the first woman in the world to cast a ballot in an election. She was born in Virginia. She lived for a time in Baltimore before moving to Wyoming. Shortly after casting her ballot in Wyoming in 1870, she returned to Baltimore, where she was laid to rest in 1878. I'm pleased to support this legislation to designate a federal building in Cheyenne, Wyoming, in honor of Louisa Swain. May it serve as a reminder of the long road women have traveled to secure the right to vote and the long road we have yet to travel to secure equal rights for women in this country and around the world. Again, I thank my colleague from Wyoming for advancing this legislation. Mr. Chairman, I would ask consent that I could be added as a co-sponsor.
Without objection.
And if I might, on a separate issue at this time.